Hey everyone! Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Donation with Gift of Hope. I'm your host, Olivia Fox, and we're just so excited to have you back again for another great episode to discuss organ and tissue donation. This is an interactive show where you, the viewers, can call in and ask us any questions that you might have about the organ and tissue donation community. Each week, I feature a special guest that will help me answer all of your awesome questions and dive a little bit deeper about what organ and tissue donation looks like in our community. Just the same as each week, we're streaming live at cantv.org/hotline. And if you want to call in and chat with us, our phone number is right at the bottom of the screen. It's 312-738-1060. Again, that's 312-738-1060. So this evening, I'm super excited for our guest, who is actually one of my colleagues. Our guest this evening is Susan Cochran. Susan has been with Gift of Hope for almost 15 years. She started as a donation specialist. In this position, she worked with many different families at hospitals throughout our donation service area. And she talked with these families about the possibility of their loved ones becoming a donor after a tragic situation happening. In this position, she was able to help families choose donation for both donation, medical purposes, and research donation. In the last year and a half, Susan has served as an aftercare specialist in the Donor Family Services Department at Gift of Hope. Prior to working for Gift of Hope, she worked in broadcasting for 17 years. After that, she worked for her church in community outreach at her church in Chicago. Susan is also the mother of two beautiful children, one who lives here in Oak Park and another that lives in Cincinnati. So right after our commercial break, Susan will be joining us.
Nikki's donations made a huge impact on a lot of people. This one right here, sitting next to me especially. When Gift of Hope came to me and asked me for the donation, it made me feel very confident knowing that I could give my baby's heart. This is Nikki's heart beating inside Tanisha's chest.
So when I heard this pounding, like, what is that noise? And the nurse said to me, that's your heart.
I carried Nikki for 9 months. Now Tanisha's gonna carry her the rest of her life.
Say yes to donation. Start the conversation with your loved ones today.
Welcome back and welcome, Susan.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you so much for being our special guest. I'm so excited for myself and all of our viewers to learn a little bit more. Hold on, let me pause our commercial here. We're so excited for myself and our viewers to learn a little bit more about one of the very important jobs at Gift of Hope and one of the very important things that we're responsible for in our service area. And that is your department, the Donor Family Services Department. So can you tell me a little bit about what the function of the Donor Family Services Department is at Gift of Hope?
Sure. Olivia, we're a highly regulated industry,
Yes.
and there are certain things that we have obligations to do, but even more so than that, it's something that we want to do, and that's take care of our donor families. So once you're a family that has chosen organ, tissue, research donation, then we want to provide support to you in the weeks, months, years after that. And so basically that's what our department does. We connect sometimes donors and recipients. We provide information to donor families. Sometimes we're a listening ear. Sometimes it's a function or a donor tribute, but all of those things are encapsulated in our department.
Great. So let's have a little bit of a quiz for our viewers. So each week I tell you that Gift of Hope has 3 main functions that we're responsible for, being, like you said, a highly regulated, federally mandated nonprofit organization. So one of the things is what my department is responsible for. That's community education and outreach.
That's right.
Another thing that is actually the meat and potatoes of it is actually working with hospitals and transplantation centers to make donation happen and coordinating all of that. And the third thing is what you discussed, is working with and supporting donor families after their loved one has gone on to leave a legacy and become an organ or tissue donor in that respect.
Right.
So what are some of the roles within the Donor Family Services Department? So I know that I do community outreach. I go out and talk to people and educate them. But what are some of the things that people do within the Donor Family Services Department to really be supportive of families?
So there are 2 positions that are called aftercare specialists.
Okay.
That would be myself and my colleague Renata. And then we have another position that is a donor family coordinator.
Okay.
And that's Ashley. And we what the aftercare specialists do is we have the direct contact with the families.
Okay,
And
okay.
we oftentimes coordinate the family recipient meetings. We support donor families in many ways. A lot of times they're asked to do media events, or they're having a foundation and having their own tribute, those kind of things. We spend a lot of time on the phone. We hear from a lot of families, see a lot of stories, and so we try to be a compassionate person on the other end of the line. We organize events to support families. Ashley supports us through helping with some of the logistics, whether it's sending out like these little purple bracelets that we
Yep, the
send
bracelets
out,
we wear.
or different things to donor families that need it. She documents, she does a lot of the regulatory documentation that we need to do. And there's a lot to sending out letters, keeping our families informed about things, and then there's that exchange of information between recipients and donor families.
Okay. So something that I've heard about, but I actually don't know a lot about, but I think that's really cool that I'm pretty sure comes out of your department, is the memory boxes that go to families of people that have become donors and helps them honor at their services or memorial. Can you tell me a little bit about what those are and what's included
Sure.
in those?
So when someone donates, they get one of these memory boxes. If we're at the hospital and it's an organ donation case, then we provide that to them at the time. If it's a
Okay.
tissue case or a donor in spirit. So sometimes families talk to us, they want to donate, but then for some reason the case is ruled out medically. We still consider those donor families. So they're
Wow.
considered a donor in spirit.
Oh, wow.
So they all get these boxes, and the boxes have the information that we're required to provide, but it's also information about what services that our department has to be there to support them.
Okay.
And we give them a few bracelets and some pens and just some contact information. But it's a real pretty green box. There's a place for photos. I mean, I'm sure some families utilize those, and display those, and other families probably just use them as a receptacle to store the information. But we've had several events where we actually bring in volunteers and donor families to help construct these boxes. And it's kind of a neat event. So
There's a little tie between our two departments. So that's kind of
Yes.
like a volunteering thing that people can do either as a donor family or if you just want to be supportive of donor families.
Yes, it's
building
fun.
those boxes.
We
is
order
something nice that you
pizza,
can do.
we go through the system, and we put all the different things in there. So,
Yeah.
but it's one of the things that we provide to donor families. There's other things. If it's a family that there's a pediatric element to it, whether it's a child that passes away and they have siblings, or whether it's a parent that passes away with a child, we have some teddy bears that a family has donated for us to use in the hospitals. We have the Kyle Zulig blankets
Those are beautiful.
that we give to families, and that was as a result, I think, of Kyle's mom being chilly in the hospital when her son became a donor, and so it's got a letter to the donor family and the blanket. We have heartbeats in a bottle, which are the EKG strip that we can put in the bottle for people.
Wow.
Just different things. We don't give all those to every family, but if we see that there's a need or that there's something special that we can do for that family to help them on the worst day of their life, then that's what we want to do. We just want to support.
Well, that's awesome, and you learn something new every day because I'd never heard of the donor in spirit, so that's definitely something that I will share, in the community, because you do hear about a lot of people that either they want to be donors, and sometimes maybe people are like, well, I don't know if I can be a donor because I have cancer. And what we've learned on this series is that you can be a donor even if you have cancer, if you've been in remission for 10 years. But let's say someone has cancer when they pass away, being a donor in spirit.
Well, it's usually when someone has consented to donation and we think that they're eligible for that.
I see.
But then the case gets ruled out for some reason. But
Okay.
But what I would tell families that wanted to donate when I was requesting for donation, and something would happen and they couldn't donate, that every choice anyone makes to do good for someone else, to donate, whether it's just signing up on their, when they go to the driver's license bureau, I think those are the kind of things that change the world for the good. So we appreciate that. I mean, even if it doesn't happen, And a lot of times people will say, well, I don't know if I'll ever be able to be a donor. We always tell them, let our medical people
Yes,
decide. You just act
exactly.
in goodwill and let that transform you. And then if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but we're going to do our best to make it happen.
Yep, and I definitely echo that sentiment regularly in the community. So, and another thing is that oftentimes I hear about a lot of people in the community that have received those memory boxes, and so that's kind of why I knew a little bit about them,
Yeah.
because we've had people say thank you to me just when they see that I'm with Gift of Hope. They're like, oh, thank you, you guys sent us this memory box, so you just taught me a lot about what's in it, and so now I know what I'm saying you're welcome for, so that's
well,
really
next
awesome.
time you're in the office, I'll show one to you
Cool.
and you can see it.
Awesome. Yeah, so people love those, and it means a lot to families. So my next question is, and you kind of touched on this a little bit, how do those donor, family, and recipient meetings happen? Because people know my story that have watched the show, know about my mom receiving her transplant and how we met her donor family, which was a little bit of a different case. But how do those
Yeah.
family meetings happen?
And they're all a little bit different, but each one that I've been involved with is so cool. I mean, it's just wonderful. Either a donor family or a recipient indicates to us that they want to make that connection.
Okay, so
with
we're
the
that
other person.
middleman, we're that connecting point.
Yes. So usually because we represent the donor families, the transplant centers tend to represent the recipients.
Okay.
So we represent the donor families, but sometimes we help recipients. It's so. If a donor family would call me or send me an email and say, hey, I would really like, to get to know the recipients or find out a little bit, we always urge them to communicate through the mail first.
Okay.
On certain occasions, we go right by that and we try to connect with the recipients. But for the most part, our protocol is, okay, let's write a letter. Let's see, what the response is. We can help a family write a letter if they're struggling with that.
Okay. Sometimes you can't find the words at that time.
Oh, it's difficult. And especially with recipient families, a lot of times they won't write because they feel like they're infringing on a donor family's mourning, or they feel like it's disrespectful, but what I know from donor families is they can't wait to get that letter. So if you're a recipient, you almost can't write too soon. I mean, they appreciate those.
I know that feeling from a recipient family's
Yeah.
standpoint. I couldn't wait to meet our donor family and connect
Yeah.
with them, because there's not enough thank yous that you can give to
Right,
a
and
family that's
it's so
given that kind of
beautiful
gift.
when you see families that come from totally different walks of life who may never have interacted, come together and become part of the human family and expand their family and hugs, and it's really a very sacred kind of holy moment when you have those. So they're not that frequent. It takes a lot of emotional energy. And it also takes a lot of logistical preparation. But if a family really wants that to happen, then we'll definitely work with them to try to make that happen.
Great. So how can families get involved with Gift of Hope if they're a donor family, and let's say maybe for some reason they slip through the cracks and they're not involved with Gift of Hope, or maybe at that time they weren't ready to be reached out to by Gift of Hope. So how can people either connect or reconnect and kind of get use of some of those resources and really awesome events and things
Sure.
that come from your department?
So if you're a donor family,
Here,
then
let's switch to the website while you talk about this too.
then we'll connect with you. Then
Okay.
you, after your donation, you'll receive a letter within 3 months. You receive an outcome letter. Then you receive another letter at a year. You'll get an invitation to our events.
Okay.
But let's say for some reason your address changed or you missed that. You can always go to our website. If you want to get involved and volunteer,
giftofhope.org. You guys see it up
yeah,
there?
we like to steer you to, it just depends. If you want to volunteer, then we steer you to Ullman and your
Get
department.
involved, volunteer right
but
there.
if you need support, then that would be our department.
Okay.
And we work closely with, if it's a donor family that wants to volunteer, then we work closely with Ullman to kind of assess, are they ready for that? Do they need support more now than they need to be volunteering? But some families, I mean, that helps in their grief, and starting to give back. So it's, if you want to be involved and do a great thing, just contact us and we'll find a way. We have donor families that are great speakers. They're great ambassadors for us.
Yep. That
and
share their story and share what
share
it
their
meant
story.
to them,
Yes.
how it made them feel, how it helped them through, something that was really a tragic situation that already happened before Gift of Hope even became
Yeah.
part of the conversation. It really helps them kind of understand how to shift it into something that's not just completely tragic.
Right. It does help in the healing process for many, many of our donor families. So, they don't think about that when they donate. They just are donating to help someone. But actually, what we hear from donor families is that they're very happy that they did it. And 6 months down the line, a year down the line, they really see that it's helped them get
the
through
healing
this
process.
situation. So that's an added benefit.
Great. So kind of while Susan was letting us know how to get involved, letting you all know how to get involved if you are a donor family that's interested in reaching out to Gift of Hope, I showed you guys our website, and I'm going to flip back to it actually quickly and make our appeal. This weekend, every week, our quest and our mission for you is to have the conversation with your loved ones today. Even if you're not going to the DMV and signing up to be an organ donor, please just let your loved ones know what it is that your wishes are. You can go right on over to our website and join the registry with us without even going to the DMV. It'll take you 30 seconds to register. But we really just want everyone to have this conversation and have good educated conversations about it, with the facts and understanding the real goodness that comes out of such a selfless gift and act that you can do as your last act on this earth. So please consider it. Reach out to Gift of Hope if you are a donor family, if you are a recipient. If you want to get involved, you can always go right on over to our website, which is giftofhope.org. And you can reach out to me just as you can each week at ofox@giftofhope.org. If you have any questions for myself or my guest, Ms. Susan Cochran, I can put you in contact with her if donor family services is something that you are interested in. So now we only have a couple minutes left, and I really want to talk about a little kind of side project, not side project at all, but another role that you have at Gift of Hope.
Yeah, it's a different hat that I wear.
Yes, a different hat.
Yeah.
There you go. And I'm actually involved with this group, and it was one of the first extracurricular Gift of Hope activities that I did, and it really was just so amazing to me that Gift of Hope has something like an interfaith council that they really take such pride in and really utilized as a resource to understand the different religious communities within our designated service area, and making sure that we respect all of those things through organ and tissue donation in regards to each religion. So I know you are the leader of the Interfaith Council, so can you talk a little bit about how that came about,
Sure.
what the function is, and who are the different people involved?
It originated with our CEO, Kevin Smunt, who had gone to the Secretary of State's office during Donor Sabbath month, and they had many different interfaith leaders that were there supporting donation. And he came back and he told our team meeting, wow, that was a really inspirational thing. Wouldn't that be neat if that could be part of Gift of Hope? So part of my past journey is I was an ordained minister at one time, and I have my master's in religion, and I thought, wow, this would be something. So I went to Kevin and I said, hey, if you ever do this, I wouldn't mind helping. So that's when he turned to me and said, you're in charge, do it. So, but it's been a great love. I think it's going on 5 years. We have representatives from Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism, Sikhism, Baha'i.
Yes, that's one of the
Judaism.
newest ones I learned about, which is really interesting.
Yes.
The Baha'i
So,
faith.
and then we have a Greek Orthodox, we have Catholic, and we have Baptist. So we have quite a representation. It's wonderful. They help us with outreach in their communities.
Yes.
And it's really a neat thing when we get together. We've had some wonderful experiences with some of our education with our own people, and then when our folks that are out in the field, our clinicians and our requesters, sometimes they call and say, oh, I have a, whatever, let's say a Hindu family, and how do I compassionately approach them? And what we do know is that all major religions, either support or leave the decision on donation to the individual. So there's a mix of theologies. You can't say one person believes and one person doesn't, but we do know that love and compassion is the foundation of all these religions, which is absolutely exactly what we represent when we talk about organ and tissue donation. So I had lunch today with our Sikh representative, and we have a good time, but it's very, it's our commitment to all of our community, our entire area. So, you know, if we have a certain group that has certain needs, we want to do the best we can to support them. We don't know everything, but we try to do whatever we can.
Right. And you know what, something I thought was really interesting on that first Interfaith Council meeting that I was at, it's a place where those people from each of those communities can not only help share information from our end, but then also bring information from their communities back to Gift of Hope about how we can be doing better.
Yes.
So it really helps keep us accountable and make sure that we're doing our best to respect and really honor everyone's religion. So, for example, someone might have come back and said, you know, something that's really holding up this decision in my community is that, you know, during this process, it needs to be done in a certain space or with certain lighting going on in that space during that transition. And I've heard stories of Gift of Hope even going as far to having little as far as having little LED candles in a surgery room so that they can kind of, you know, if they can't do it exactly how the religion asks for it to be honored, to do their best to make those accommodations. And that's something that really makes me feel warm in my heart, you know, outside of being a Gift of Hope employee, knowing that much care and passion is put behind this process.
Well, you're talking to people on the worst day of their life.
Yes.
They've just lost a loved one, and we want to do whatever we can to make it as sensitive and easy for them. And a lot of times they don't know what their own religion believes.
True.
So there are misconceptions within different religious communities that say, gosh, this sounds great, but I don't think we believe in this. So, you know, we can kind of frame the conversation, and then we have our counsel that we can rely on to help us. And, you know, we do the best we can to. It's very complex. Religion is very, very intricate and complex with lots of twists and turns, but we just try to come in humbly and just be supportive of what their situation is with a little bit of knowledge and respect.
Yeah. And so I think a great kind of thing to wrap it up with is what I tell people on a daily basis. If you register as an organ donor, this is not a decision that you need to think about now. It's not anything you need to think about tomorrow. But what we can do as human beings is live the best life you can every day, make the best decisions you can every day, love everyone, and if and when a higher power chooses that it's your time to go, whatever higher power it is that you believe in, that will be faith, then you can leave a legacy on this earth and really help save someone.
We need a lot of love
through
right
this gift.
now.
We do need a lot of love. So,
So-
we just got to love each other and continue to support our communities, continue to educate our communities so that we can make the best decisions. And the decision is going to be be an organ donor, because there's
Yes.
nothing bad about it.
Organ,
So,
tissue, and research, it's all
organ
awesome.
tissue and research, it's all good. So thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week for another episode of Let's Talk Donation with Gift of Hope. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
joining
everybody.
me, Susan.
Yes.
See you next week. Bye-bye.